what we're experiencing right now. And I have to tell you, this is St. Louis's race war. We didn't have a race war like other cities throughout the country. This is our race war.
All right, folks, that, believe it or not, is Missouri State Senator Maria Chappelle Nadal calling the Ferguson situation their race war. Joining us now is Joe Concha, columnist at Mediaite.com. Hello, Joe.
How are you, Steve?
Good to talk to you. You know, when I first said go book Joe Concha, it was about the column you wrote on Bill Cosby and saying how it's starting to resemble Joe Paterno. And I said, how dare he mention Joe Paterno in the same breath as Bill Cosby. So if we have time, we'll get to that. If not, we'll do that another day. But you wrote a piece on Ferguson talking about how, I mean, what a TV spectacle. And as you said, for all the wrong reasons. But I sat there last night, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing and also hearing from some of the commentators on MSNBC especially, and to send your people into that kind of a zone and not give them the proper protection, to have one reporter have bottles thrown at her at CNN, another have a rock thrown at her head, the other's getting overcome by tear gas. What the heck were we watching?
We're watching reality TV, Steve, get a little bit too real, right? And to your exact point, you were sending people into basically what was a war zone, and without the proper protection. So yeah, you saw a Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon from CNN get tear gassed. You saw a Mike Tobin, who has been to plenty of war zones in his day, from Fox, get tear gassed. You saw Steve Harrigan, literally they were filming looters at one store. They were running out with various kinds of alcohol, and then when one looter kid walked by them and then they asked him for a comment, he went to Harrigan's cameraman, Dutch Hogan, and then actually broke his camera. We saw all this unfold in front of you, and it was like watching a bad Die Hard movie where, you know, the media really gets a little bit too close to a situation, obviously inflame things, but then again, they have to cover it. It is news, but there are ways of doing that. But it got dangerous for some folks. Certainly, you mentioned Sarah Snyder from CNN. She also had been to war zones in Libya, and she was hit in the head with a rock. We could go on and on with all the different stories, but the bottom line is that this was a made-for-TV event, unfortunately, because the announcement came at 9 o'clock. That's prime time, as you know. That's where you have the West Coast even home from work. And as far as maximum audience, they certainly got it. But then again, maybe it would have been a wise move, as I wrote about this week as well, to maybe make this announcement during the day where, you know, you don't have the cover of darkness to get away with these sort of things. And obviously you could keep track of these folks a little bit more, and maybe folks act a little bit differently at night than they do during the day. I think it would have been better served, Steve, if they did this maybe at 9 o'clock in the morning instead of 9 o'clock at night.
Could be, except then, you know, then you're going to close businesses all over the city. How are people going to get to work? I mean, at least this way, people who didn't want trouble were able to be at home, and maybe that was something behind the thinking as well. And I got to tell you, if they had deployed the National Guard, if they had deployed this massive military force that we had heard so much about, how outrageous they are, militarizing our police forces, if they had deployed them, then those businesses, and as the mayor of Ferguson said today, he was very disappointed in the governor. Why the heck didn't they have National Guard troops in front of the businesses?
That didn't make any sense to me. When you're watching all this unfold at home, Steve, and the numbers are going to come out shortly as far as ratings, and they'll be maybe the biggest of the year, even maybe bigger than the midterms. And you can't believe that after 3 months, they had 3 months to prepare for this, that you could just watch people unabated just walk up to businesses on West Ferguson Avenue, which was the epicenter of all of this, and just start breaking in windows at the McDonald's or at the liquor stores, light buildings on fire. I believe there were 12 in all that were lit, and you wonder where the police were, particularly when they had a heads up. They knew this was coming, and it still happened. And again, this plays out on television, reality TV, everybody in the comfort of their own homes watching this unfold and saying, is anybody in charge? Is anything going on? And then we go to New York and you see Bill Bratton with the fake blood on his face, and you see the marches in Los Angeles and Oakland, California, and Philadelphia, and it felt for a couple of minutes that the country was falling apart and nobody was at the wheel, nobody whatsoever. And even the president, when he was on last night, Steve, that split screen, he's saying, I appeal for calm, and everybody, you could be angry, but and then on the right of the same split screen, you see fires starting to be lit. It was just a surreal experience, something we haven't seen really since the Boston bombings, as far as something unfolding in real time on the air.
And Joe, I will maintain this was a media-created story. This was a criminal who committed a crime, beat up a cop, took the cop's gun, and ran and then charged back at the cop. How did this ever, except for some unconfirmed eyewitness who claimed hands up, don't shoot, how did this become a civil rights case, except for a media wanting and praying and hoping to make it into that? Just outrageous in my view. Anyway, Joe, we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you very much, sir.
Let's do Cosby sometime, because I think you misunderstood the story. It was about legacy, not about the actual acts. Trust me. But we'll talk about that.
I know. You mean Paterno and Cosby. I got to go. We'll talk. Okay, we're coming back with Quan LX.